Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Business of Inner Peace. My guest today is Camille Scow. She is first and foremost a mother of three beautiful children, ages 4.5, 3, and 1. Camille began her career as a teacher after graduating college in 2013, and her love of learning just never stopped. She earned her master's degree in curriculum and instruction from Utah Valley University in 2018, and she spent 8.5 years teaching second and third grade across multiple school districts, gaining rich and diverse classroom experience. In May 2022, Camille became a certified life coach and began deepening her work in trauma informed care, understanding how the brain is shaped by experience, the power of our thoughts, and how Kristen Neff's research on self compassion can truly transform lives. Today, especially in the wake of the collective trauma of COVID, Camille is on a mission to support teachers emotionally, helping them see themselves and their students more clearly so they can create meaningful, healing connections. So grab your favorite beverage and stay tuned. Welcome to the Business of Inner Peace. I'm your host, Erin Jean, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's pretend we're sitting in my living room enjoying a cup of coffee or tea and getting to know each other just a little better. That's what I love. I love getting to hear your story. I love feeling connected by the spirit of understanding that our stories bring. Today, I'm sharing some of my story, but I hope someday soon you'll be telling me yours. Listen, I know that you're feeling overwhelmed with life, and nothing is exactly how you'd like it to be. Your marriage is not what you hoped for, motherhood is harder than you imagined, and you've lost yourself somewhere in the mix of responsibilities. Well, if you're ready to bring some more peace and joy into your life, reconnect with God who made you, and start living a life you love, then grab your cup of coffee or tea, and let's dive into today's show. Well, welcome, Camille, to an episode of the Business of Inner Peace. I'm super excited to have you. How are you?
Oh, great. I'm so great. I got my kids squared away and I'm in a new house. And so that's been a very good, fun transition. And also with it correlating with the new year, it's just been even more just like getting out of my life what I don't want and intentionally keeping what I do want. And it's just been so fun.
Yeah, that's the best thing about a move. It's like very cleansing.
Yeah. And it hasn't really been that way for me before, because before I just was so stuck in I have way too much stuff and I'm terrible at getting rid of it, but I should get rid of it. So it was just kind of this guilt trip every time. But this move, I've like given myself peace, given myself permission to let it take some time and just like connecting with myself because unfortunately, there have been times in my life where I kind of put my self worth into stuff and so it's like, well, I can't get rid of it because it means I am less worthy or whatever. I don't know. Brains are weird. But it's just been really fun to like slow down and just connect with myself, which sounds really weird, but it's been really good.
Aw, I'm so glad. Well, yay. That means 2026 is off to a wonderful start for you.
Yeah.
So my very favorite thing to do is to connect with people via story. I think
Mhm.
it's so powerful when we get to know each other's stories, and it helps us feel like endeared to you quickly.
Mhm.
So if
Mhm.
you're willing, I'd really love to hear a bit of your story and what got you to where you are today.
Yes. And I'm so happy to share. And more importantly, I'm happy to be in a place where I can share because it's been really challenging and beautiful. Yeah, so I like went to college, wanted to be a teacher, but then didn't want to be a teacher, and then ended up getting my degree, and it was kind of a struggle. I ended up failing my student teaching, but then got placed in a different place or a different school, and anyway, so just kind of had challenges on my road, which well, in my journey, which really helped lay the foundation for what happened. It was the end of 2021, and I had I had had my first baby the previous March. So my baby's about 10 months old. I didn't have to come back to teaching. And by then I'd been teaching for 8 years and I taught in a few different schools. And so I didn't have to come back, but I knew I wanted to come back. And that moment of deciding to come back because I wanted to was so grounding for me. And I didn't know it at the time because of course, I didn't know what was going to happen that year, but it was so grounding because I never went to what if I didn't even come back and teach that year. Anyway, so I was doing okay. I had a pretty difficult class, but I'd had harder students before, and I was teaching third grade, and so I was just kind of like, I should be able to handle this because I've had worse. But I would have like little mini mental breakdowns in the bathroom while my students were at specials and like I thankfully didn't take too much of it home. Like I was able to kind of be present with my baby and all of that. But it was really, really hard. And I didn't really want to tell anyone I was struggling, but I did end up telling my sister-in-law and who and she knew my principal at the time because she had had experience like her kids had had her as their teacher. Anyway, so she knew her pretty well. And so she told me you should talk to your principal. And that was a Sunday and then the next Monday I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to her. And that's when we have our meetings with our teacher meetings, like, that's when we have our early out, so the students were left early and the teachers were meeting together, and our principal came, and it was like, "Okay, this is my chance. Like, I'm gonna tell her I'm struggling and I'd like her support." And then, of course, not of course, but I chickened out. Like, I didn't really know what to say because I didn't I didn't really want her to know I was struggling. And I also wasn't super aware of how much I was struggling, and I didn't really have the words to ask for help. And so I was a little bit down on myself after not asking for help, and then Tuesday comes along, and then Wednesday comes along. And Wednesday, it's the end of the day. I've had a pretty rough day. There is a student who was like attempting to poke another student with a sharp object. And so I was trying to take it from the student and they didn't give it to me. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm washing my hands of this. Like, I'm not going to engage in this power struggle because that's what it is. And I'm done. Like, I don't need that. Like, I can move on. And then the student held the object out and I went to go take it. And then last minute, the student like took it away. So it just kind of my brain kind of this instinct like this student is being disrespectful, like this student needs to stop doing this, and I ended up tapping him on the cheek. And it was the end of the day, like I said, and so the students kind of freaked out. We did our breathing techniques, which I had had in place, like because students know when they're dysregulated. They don't have the words, but they know. And I even had a class job where a student would help us take deep breaths and they choose the technique we'd use. And so we did that, but there wasn't really enough time in the day to get back to a regulated state because there's probably 20 minutes left. And so we did what we could. And anyway, students they told their parents what had happened. And then word got to the principal calls me and like, I heard that you hit a student. Those aren't their exact words, but and I wasn't gonna lie. And as I was at my house, before I got the phone call from my principal, I just um this other grounding moment for me was, of course, I shouldn't have done what I did, but I can't go back and change the past. And so it was just like, okay, I just kind of open to the universe of I'm going to accept whatever consequence comes of this because I can't change the past. And so the only thing I can do is accept what is going to happen. And that was very grounding for me because what did happen was very kind of earth-shattering for me. So, I had a meeting the next day. I ended up getting put on administrative leave for an unknown amount of time. I was going to this school late at night to do sub plans, and I kind of felt like a secret agent. It was kind of terrible and cool at the same time. And then and then Christmas happened, and which was really hard because I kind of had to pretend to be happy when I was feeling so broken inside because I couldn't really tell anyone what was happening. And anyway, so the it was January, beginning of the next year, and I still wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to return to my classroom or not. And I reached out to the administration, and the response was about like if I need to make sub plans and stuff. And so I got a response that was like, "We found a way where you don't have to do sub plans." And I was like, I don't really have the words for it. Like, I wasn't curious. It was just like, wait, what? And it turns out that without me knowing, they had found another teacher and for them to take over my class. And like that feeling of literally being replaced was so strong and so hard. And I love kids. I'm the youngest of 9. So I grew up with a bajillion nieces and nephews. And so it was just like, what is happening? How is this what's real? And I got really, really mad at the world. Like, I did not understand how this was my reality. And those moments were some of the very, very most difficult moments of my life. And earlier, my mother in law had called me and just about something random. She kind of knew something had been going on because I had spent time at her house for Christmas and stuff. But she called me for something random, but she could tell in my voice that something was wrong. And there was a moment where my daughter was asleep and I was literally about to text my husband to tell him to come home from work so that somebody would be home when my daughter woke up from her nap because I was like, I can't live in this existence of what I know about me and what I thought I knew about the world. Like they just can't exist in the same space. And she came and knocked on my door. And she has no idea the importance of that moment of connection that I experienced. And she came, she sat with me, and to be very cliche, took me off the ledge, like helped me back down from the ledge. And that moment of connection was so helpful and so pivotal in my healing because there's much more to the story, um, which complicates things but has helped me become who I am. Um, and as I'm so grateful for that chance that I had to like look back on that connection of my mother-in-law knew what was going on and she didn't hate me. She didn't think I should be in jail like I kind of thought I should have been. And that didn't prevent the shame from coming because there was more experiences of shame and I had a very, I guess you could say, intimate experience with shame is kind of how I look back thinking about it because I felt shame for probably a good year and a half to 2 years, a very intense shame. And I was able to get to a place where I just allowed it to be there. And this intense shame is what led me to finding self compassion. And it led me to searching out Kristen Neff's work. I didn't know Kristen Neff at the time, But I just was researching self-compassion because I knew how important compassion was, and I'd sort of heard of self-compassion. And when I found Kristen Neff's work and I was able to really truly understand, like, not just with my mind, but like with my body, the three components, the self-kindness, the mindfulness, the common humanity, when I was really able to put those together and like mesh it in with my shame, that's when I was able to find healing. And I I also became very, very in tune with emotions. And because it's not really about the experiences that happen as much as our response to the experiences. So I'm sure there's many people out there who would not felt shame as intensely as I did. Yet we I learned we're all kind of connected with the emotions that we feel. And I was at a very, very, very dark place for a very, very long time. And being able to intentionally come out of that with the tools of self compassion, as well as understanding trauma, as well as um, I got certified as a life coach. So, as well as the tools, like the mind tools and the thought work. And it's just like all of it needed to come together in order for me to get some sort of traction on how I want to define the world in my life. Because, like I said, there was that day where my understanding of the world just shattered. And I was able to put the pieces that I wanted back together with the tools of self compassion. And there are still moments where I'm still putting pieces back together, but it has helped me be intentional in my healing. And I feel like it has helped me um, be in a place where I don't judge people because it's like I've kind of lived a teacher's worst nightmare, and nothing you could say really could make me judge you or make me think you should have done anything different. And so I've loved that I can hold space for whatever people are going through. And also just that the importance of that emotional connection, because you can tell me your story and you can tell me the things that happened, but what I listen to is how you it is affecting you. And so I love just seeing people and seeing the emotions that they are experiencing and how hard it is. And how, like I said, it doesn't really matter what happened because the same thing can happen to 10 people, and each person will have their own different experience. And so, what matters is what is going on for them. What matters is, can they be kind to themselves? Can they really understand the mindfulness component of, are they aware of what is happening? And can they find that connection and understand that they're human and this is a human experience, and try to avoid the isolation of, I'm the only one who is experiencing this. Or like there's therapy and there's medication and there's help for other people, but I've gone too far.
Mm.
And when we can connect with Kristen Neff's common humanity, then it's like, okay, I'm not the only one who has struggled in this way.
Mhm.
And then you can have the courage to reach out and have the courage to open up and the courage to see yourself, which that can be one of the hardest things, is to really see ourselves, which again, I really had to and still do have that introspection because I did something wrong. Like, I messed up.
Mhm.
This wasn't just some sort of accident. And so I've had to have a lot of self love and a lot of perspectives and sifting through a lot of different perspectives because there was one person in my story who I got an email from who literally thought I should be in jail. And so it was like and they had the power to put me in jail. And so it was like, okay, they can be wrong about me and it's okay. And I love them and I love me. And it's also okay if I don't like them very much, but they can love them and I can love me and I can give them permission to be wrong about me.
Yeah.
And that has also helped me find that connection, like you were talking about, just how crucial and how important it is to feel that genuine connection. And whether that's with someone else, like my mother in law, or with myself, like my reconstructed self, kind of one way to describe it. And just that finding that connection has been so incredibly healing.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I hear a lot of valuable lessons in it. And if it's okay with you, I kind of like to go back, ask a couple of questions along the way, and then highlight the lessons that I'm seeing to just share with the audience.
Yeah,
So, you good with that?
yeah.
I'm going to take us on a little journey back through your story. Um, so that very first part, when you laid out that you're struggling, right, as you made the decision that you wanted to return to teaching, I'm curious if the struggle was solely about having a difficult class or intermingled in that could be a lot of new mom stuff and being apart from your child and fluctuations in hormones as your body's going through repair, right,
Mhm,
from
mhm,
having carried and delivered a child and nursing and potentially all that stuff.
mhm,
So I'm curious if you can see that now that it's all mixed together, or if you really feel like it was just about having a difficult class.
mhm. I think, the struggles of new momhood definitely played a part, and, um, like, I would breastfeed or I would pump during lunch, and so that was kind of hard in and of itself because my lunchtime was always, like, either my me time or my I need to plan the next lesson time, and so it was just I had to have a different allocation of time than I ever had, and that's always a lot, and then, of course, the hormones and as and so I was actually super nervous about pumping, maybe this little TMI, but it was just like, I don't really know how this is gonna work. I don't know how often I'm gonna have to do it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pump enough for when my child is not the babysitter, and it's all the things that my brain was worrying about. And then school starts, and I take things a day at a time, and it's like, okay, this is good, and I kind of get in a routine of things. And so then my shift changes a little bit to my students because I was kind of worried about myself for the first little while,
Yeah.
and then it kinda changes to my students, and so it's like, "Oh, okay, I'm good."
Mm.
Like, I'm good with this whole mom and full-time job thing, and I think I didn't realize just how much it still is hard, if that makes sense. Like, it was still hard, and I wasn't super aware of it, and when I had like, crying fits in the bathroom. Who knows? At the time, I wasn't really aware of if it could been more of my hormonal emotions or if it was my difficult class. And there was um, a little bit of isolation from both ways as far as wanting a little bit more support with my difficult students, but also like I don't know what other moms do, cause I just see what I do, and I don't know how other moms have handled this. I don't know what other moms go through this, so it was like, well, I just have to do my best and hope for the best, and here we go. So it was like this kind of unknowns, isolation of being a mom, and a little bit of isolation okay, I need support here, but I don't want to admit that I need support, and I don't really know how to get the support that I need.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. I suspected that it was a commingling of things, and I think that's the first lesson I see in your story is having this very compassionate self-awareness, of like one being aware of how you're feeling and what you're struggling with, what's going on, but having that benefit of giving yourself some compassion because what I could hear you saying in your story was almost like too high of an expectation being set by yourself
Mhm.
during that time period. And you can see looking back, obviously, right? That's why it's a lesson.
Right. Mhm.
That if you were able to tap into some more like compassion for for yourself, for the situation, it would lead you hopefully to reaching out. And I think that that's the second lesson in your story is, when the opportunity presented itself to ask for help and support, um, maybe you got a little bit too preoccupied with what someone else might think of you.
Mhm.
Right? In the eyes of a principal looking at a teacher, you didn't want to be perceived a certain
Mhm.
way. And I think it's just another lesson for all of us of like, ditch the concern about how you're being perceived and take care of yourself, right? To
Mhm.
ask for help. And even you gave some great ideas, right? You could have even gotten some help from other moms. There's lots of working moms out there and different places, but it's like you never slowed down enough to have compassion for yourself to get the help. So that was the second lesson I heard from your story. And obviously, you had that breakdown, and it sounded to me like the third lesson along the way for everybody, there's always this pivotal point in which, for lack of a better term, I kind of call it the aha moment.
Mhm.
And it sounds like this moment of having the thought of really not needing to be here in this world. Your concern was more like, who's going to be there for my child later on in the day, right?
Mhm.
When you get met with that moment of compassion with having your mother-in-law come and see you, and I don't believe there's ever any accident in how things are timed. So that was definitely like a divine intervention. But it sounds like that was maybe a moment for you where you realized help is needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where I can relate to my own story is like there's always this pivotal like, okay, this is really serious. Like we got to figure out some help because would you say it's that moment that really is the driver for you to go start looking for the self-compassion work and all of that?
Yes. Also, in addition to the intense shame, because it was like, I can't keep living like this.
Hmm.
Like, this is not okay for me to just like, I can't exist with this cloud of shame. And then, but also that, like I said, that connection with my mother-in-law was like this light in the shame.
Mm.
Also, I was as you were kind of telling back my story of getting some more awareness of, I think if somebody were to have told me to have more compassion for myself at that time, I'd have been like, "Psh, that's not what I need. Like, what
Mm.
I need is more like I need more structure. I need more discipline. I need to be harder on myself."
Mm.
And I'm so grateful for this transition of understanding of compassion and how compassion really is strength and how um in our hardest moments compassion and self-compassion is what can give us our greatest strength.
Mm.
And because I feel like it, especially that's the self-compassion and the self-kindness part is like, can we be kind to ourselves even when we've messed up so much?
Yeah.
And that it's like the core of the strength that we can receive. It's because it doesn't cover it. Because I feel like sometimes when I drive myself too much, I feel like, "Okay, I just need to be harder on myself to solve all my problems," which is covering up a bunch of stuff. I just need to be harder on myself so I don't actually look deep inside of me, so I can avoid the parts that I don't like about myself.
Mm.
And then the compassion helps encompass all of it. And so it's not that I just, like, wish I didn't do what I did. It's like, no, it's a part of me, and it doesn't make me any worse of a person. It just is an opportunity for that self-awareness and that transition of seeing compassion instead of seeing compassion as a weakness or compassion as kind of fluff. It's the compassion is the root of strength and the root of our own, like, our inner strength and our inner yeah, inner strength. I don't really know. It's like I wish I knew a different language and I could describe it differently. Because inner strength seems doesn't seem quite the right words to describe, like, the strength of a human being and and getting at our core of that self-love and becoming indestructible, so to speak, about how we view ourselves so that when other people do think things about us that we don't like, we can just not really care. And it's not about not caring what other people think, because we're human and we're supposed to care what other people think. But it's kind of that internal barrier of I can care what they think, but I don't have to believe what they think.
Mm.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. I think it's one of the mentors in my world. Her name's Allison Armstrong, and she describes this difference between human animal and human spirit. And when we're in human spirit, it's kind of when we're tapping into all these beautiful qualities that you're describing, but also kind of going above what some of our human instincts are, which would be human animal, right? And
Mhm.
so when we just act in a very instinctual way, which is how we're going to act when our brain is kind of overrun with all of these other, elements, logistics, hormones, all the things, we're going to go right into that instinct, which is human animal. And so, as you start to practice these things that we've been talking about today, like awareness, compassion, breath work, all of that, those are the tools that help you rise above and really tap into that human spirit, which is true strength. But I don't think it would be viewed that way in the way the world typically defines strength. It's
Mhm.
more an internal strength of being able to rise above a condition, to be able to rise above a mindset, and tapping into all of that. So that's really cool. I think that
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that's
it
that place you've come to.
yeah. What came to mind as you were describing that is, um, bringing God into this, and I feel like the more aligned we can be with trying to understand how God thinks of us,
Mhm.
I think that, like, channels our strength, and I was trying to think of an analogy where we all have so many incredible talents and abilities. And then when we can put it all where it is used, it's probably this is not coming out very well, but it's like because sometimes we put so much energy, I guess like worry. That's worry is a good example for me of energy putting out into the world that does nothing.
Mm.
And so it's not that we use up more energy, but when we can be aligned with our strength, be aligned with God and helping God, letting God change us to help us see how He sees us, it's like, okay, all of our energy is now just used for good
Mm.
and it can be used for productivity rather than sent out into the void of worry.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing, so I've never heard of this Kristen that you mentioned.
Mhm.
Will you spell her last name in case people want to go find her?
Yes, and it's Kristen, Kristin
Mhm.
Neff.
So Kristen Neff.
Yeah, and she has researched self-compassion the past 15, 20 years. She is so amazing. Like, she sort of knows I exist because I was on a call once and we had kind of a conversation, but she has changed my life. And I'm just so grateful for her story and her work on bringing self-compassion to the awareness of the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, as we kind of wrap things up, I'd love for you to share how you now have kind of taken all of these lessons, this experience, and your own growth, and how you are paying it forward and helping others.
Yeah, so I'm currently working on a program for teachers, and I kind of did a beta test this summer, and I'm going to start one in a couple of weeks, another one where I share my story with teachers and I infuse it with Kristen Neff's work of self compassion and as well as helping teachers understand trauma. Because when we can understand self compassion and when we can understand trauma, all of the stressors in a teacher's day become less important. And it gives teachers the strength to love their students, to love themselves, and to show up in the way that they want to show up in their classroom. And so I love my story and I have seen it as a gift. And like I said at the beginning, I'm so grateful that I have reached a path in my healing where I feel comfortable to share it. And I know that, um, like the parts of your brain, when you hear stories, that part of your brain gets activated that helps people be motivated to do stuff. And so I feel like this story is a gift to share and to kind of tell teachers out there, like, not that, oh, it could be worse, because that's not what I mean either, but just like, I get it. I I've been there. Teaching is hard, and there are some simple tools that can change everything. And I relate it to as a teacher, you're trying to hold so many different things. And like as a mom, I used to clean up by picking up all of the toys. And then there's one more toy, and I bend down to pick it up. And as I bend down, a toy falls down. And then I go to pick up that toy, and then three toys fall. And so it's just like this big mess. But if I just get a laundry basket and stick them all in the laundry basket, I get more work done. So that's kind of what I hope to help teachers and give teachers is this self-compassion basket and the trauma-informed basket. So you have this tool where you can still do everything that you're supposed to do. Like nothing on your plate goes away really. And it's not that you have to have more things on your to-do list, but it's okay, here's a basket where you can put all things in. Put all the things in that you want in even, and, like, you can kinda choose what you want in your basket, and then so that you stop dropping things and so that you're able to show up intentionally instead of being worried about all of the things that could be falling out and you could be dropping on. And so yeah, I have created this program, and I'm in the process of sharing it because teachers, I've been there and and it's okay if life is hard and there is hope and there is a way to love yourself and love your students. And compassion can do way more for ourselves and our students than we ever could even imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad that you are doing the work that you're doing. How can people find you?
Yeah, I have a podcast. It's called The Connected Teacher. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also, I used to have a website and then I got rid of it. So if I can give you my personal email, those are the best ways to reach me.
Awesome. Well, I'll be sure to have everything in the show notes for everyone. And, again, I just admire anyone that's able to take their story and, use it not only to heal their own life, but then to heal the lives of others, really paying it forward. If it's okay with you as we close out, I'd love to just say a prayer over you today.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Awesome. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you so much for Camille. I thank you for her heart. I thank you for her story. I thank you for the work that you've done in her and that the all the work that you're doing through her. I pray that each person that's listening today will be blessed by this story and anyone, especially teachers that are out there needing some extra support. We just know that you led them here to this podcast for a reason and that you would give them that extra little nudge to reach out to Camille and to start this journey towards a healthier version of them. So we pray for all of your blessings upon it. Amen.
Amen.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're feeling blessed by the content here, the number one way you can show me is by leaving me a written review of the show. I'd be forever grateful. Knowing that you're out there listening helps me know that I'm truly living out God's purpose in my life. The other thing you can do is take a screenshot of this episode, share it with a friend, or better yet, tag me on your Instagram stories. Remember, you are seen, known, and loved. May God richly bless you today. All my love, Erin Jean.